Yeah, welcome back to Driver Show. Today we're here with Gurps. We're at Mercedes-Benz World, and we're going to talk about
my crazy adventure, which I'm currently planning.
Yeah, to be honest, this guy is like the real life transporter. I'm just going to put that out there, and let's just leave it just so you guys visualize why this crazy idea.
I actually had two Audi A8s previously.
There you go.
Well.
There you go. So it's crazy saying it's not crazy, because it's a wild idea, but the fact that obviously you've got that experience of international travel and that puts you at a point where you can dream that size of a dream. Idea.
No dream is too big, and it's funny. I think like on the drive down today, I was just kind of thinking about where it all started from.
Yeah.
And I think from a very young age, quite fortunately, the only person that's travelled more than me is my dad. So he was, he used to travel a lot. This is during Concorde days.
Wow.
So he used to work with British Airways. So he's probably on 70 to 80 countries now.
Jesus.
I'm currently on 55, which for me doesn't sound like a lot. It's only like a quarter of the world. But I think when you speak to a lot of people, they're like, shit, you've done.
Even the well-traveled people, they're not at, I don't know, even if I think I'm probably at 12, 15.
I could do 12 in one trip. And it's just one of those things that from a young age, we used to travel quite a lot with my parents. So, we used to do that kind of road trip. And it's funny, I think 97 was just before my little brother was born. And I remember being in Switzerland. So that was kind of our first long road trip.
Okay.
That we did as a family. And I remember seeing my first supercar, a Lamborghini Diablo. And it's just one of those things. It's just Switzerland, Swiss plated, Lamborghini Diablo, and it was just one of those things. You look back on it, and I was like, it was just such a great moment. But I think growing up at that point, you didn't really appreciate it.
No.
As time went on, started doing more and more road trips with the families. Actually, you know what? One thing, if my brother and sister are watching this right now, they will laugh at me, because when I was younger, when we used to do like road trips, even if we went into France or Belgium, and I always used to look at the lorries parked up at like the Eurotunnel or the ferry, and I was like, I want to be a lorry driver. And the only reason for that was because I thought it was so cool that seeing all these foreign lorries.
Yeah.
And I was like, these guys are literally traveling around the world. So I've had it in me from a long,
So that's been obviously a passion that's come from early, and it's developed into obviously what you do and what you're planning to do. So obviously bringing it back, this guy is planning to travel the world.
Yep.
In your saying that, so we're at Mercedes-Benz World, and both of us have turned up in Cayennes. So obviously your Cayenne, mine's just the family car.
That's why we're kind of speaking more and more about the car.
Exactly. That's where we started, communicating more. But obviously for you, like you say, you've had two A8s, so you've moved out.
I wasn't meant to get so the funny thing about the Cayenne was I was in my A8, and it's just, I remember messaging you around Christmas time, and I was like, what should I look out for? And I kind of had
everything.
I've always wanted it, and you were just like, look out for this, that, everything. So I found like the perfect car. I don't want to get something that was kind of too new, because the whole idea was get something which is kind of been battered a bit, so I can kind of work on it. And me and my brother actually went, so it was not too far from here down the road. We went to go look at this Cayenne. My A8 broke down. And it just would not start. There was an electron, so it was like the D3, so like the original transporter car, 4.2 V8, literally pulled to the dealership. I never had any issues with the car. It's been great, I've taken it out, on road trips and stuff. Went to the dealership, must have been in there for 10, 15 minutes to look at the Cayenne. I was like, I'm in an R-ing, should I get it, should I not get it? Went back outside, went to the A8, it died. It never started. And then the guy on the phone, he was like, you know what, I'll do you a good price. I couldn't walk away from it.
No, that's it.
So I ended up buying the car there and then.
Got no choice.
Yeah, it was about, I think about 2, because I remember speaking to you, so that's what, what should look out for.
Yeah.
And it's about 2 weeks without, the MOT was due. And I bought the car, and I was like, I want to take it out for a road trip. So I took it for a day trip into Belgium. And no issues, got me there, had a great time. The only issue was, so there was a hole in the exhaust.
Yeah,
so
you said it was a bit blurry.
A lot louder. And there was that, and what was the passenger window when it opened? So when you go to like toll roads or passport control, you got the car that sounds like a race car. And and then the door doesn't open. Obviously, I looked a bit suspect as well, and it's like all the red flags that you can think of. And I think bought the car back, went to the MOT, and it passed. There was a few niggly bits which I've kind of I've got some bits done. I've got some more things to done, and I think like the last couple of months just planning this route.
Yeah, that's gonna be mad. But first of all, wild that you just got a car and decided to take it into Europe. Like, just, day trip into Europe in my car that's due an MOT in 2 weeks.
Sounds like such a normal thing.
Yeah,
but it isn't.
People, a day trip into Europe's enough of a madness. But in a car that you just bought,
with the MOT, and I literally...
With 2 weeks left of MOT.
I had no idea.
I don't think anybody thinks that. But, this is what puts you in this place and this mindset of, let's get it done. Let's do this trip. Let's do this road trip. And I think it's going to be wild. Obviously, you're looking at routes and, like, talking to people. And, if anybody wants to get involved, obviously make sure they contact you. Anybody wants to help along the way, I think it would be great, and we really need to talk about it because it's a big deal. And but then also you've been sharing some stories about some stories of shit going on in Sudan or somewhere.
So when I really started looking at the route and the plan, so the idea was, it was around Christmas, it was around the time I bought the car. I remember watching one. There was a vlogger, and he was driving his Land Cruiser from India through like Russia, Europe, and he made it look so easy. And I was like, if this dude can do it on his own, I can do it.
I can, yeah.
Obviously, sitting there, started doing reading more into it. So looking at expeditions that other people have done. Then one which is kind of really stuck in my head. So it was like mid 1980s. So a guy, I think originally he's born in Germany. So him and his wife basically got themselves a G-Wagon.
Oh, the G-Wagon story, yes, that's amazing.
It's, as far as I'm aware, they were the only, or definitely the first people to do all the countries in the world in the G-Wagon. He got into an accident, but he was able to, repair the car. So originally, it started off as doing 6 months in Africa, and that was it. But then they started traveling around, and they did the first car in Cuba, first car in North Korea. Like, there's a really famous picture which I've got. So I've got the G-Wagon outside, the statue in Pyongyang, and I was like that. Like, when I saw that, I was like, this is before GPS. So this is pure reading the maps. You had no social media. The guy, literally, the only thing that he carried around with him in terms of tech was his Leica camera. That was it. There's like no phones. There's no nothing.
There's no satellite phones. There's no nothing.
And it was great. And I was like, that's what an adventure should be. It's and it's one. I think reading stories of that, and then I think in the early 2000s, Ferrari did 2 separate trips. So there was another one which they did, and the old traditional silk route.
Yeah.
I can't remember which way around. So one was in the 612 Scaglietti.
I remember seeing that.
And then there was another one which they did the Panamericana Highway. So from Alaska down to Ushuaia in 2 Ferraris. And I was like, other people have done this, and they've probably done it in cars.
They've done legs of
legs. So I thought, well, if they're doing legs, my idea is to take it around the world.
Mad. I think. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not doable because I do genuinely believe it's doable because it's
I have my ups and downs.
But yes, it's a big fucking task, and I think hats off to you for even considering it and thinking about it and putting together. But I think you can. I mean, you point the plan in. You're going to get the car ready. It's just going to be I think you'll absolutely smash it. And it's something that I think people need to see follow you along with your preparations and your stories, because you share a lot of really interesting, and obviously before we talk more about your world route, obviously Roadtrip Connoisseur is
a name
your,
that kind
your
of
alter ego,
yeah,
right? So that again ties back to the whole road trip and the whole transport of things. Roadtrip Connoisseur. So you understand long distance travel and which is why a day trip to Europe is like nothing.
I mean, it's nothing for me, isn't it? The hardest bit of that trip is driving from here to Folkestone or to Dover. It doesn't matter where in the world you got. That's always the hardest. That's the one bit which I hate.
But this is what I'm saying. So you already got that passion. You already got that knowledge. You already got that experience, and obviously you've been part of other big road trips, big
Yeah.
rallies, big. So you've been in parts of the world with cars that shouldn't probably be there.
Yeah.
So you understand. You already understand the mechanics of that.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it's man, not to put you on the spot, but man, just there must have been a time when you were in one of these road trips or one of these rallies, and and like you must have seen something or experienced something. You're like, how is this?
I wrote a
like,
book on it.
well,
this book
is
literally talks about the last kind of how I got into cars.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, I think it's not the R12, I think R107s. My dad used to have a couple of them, Mercedes SLs.
Nice.
And then it was from my granddad. So he used to have a 930 turbo.
Nice.
So that was kind of his weekend car. And then he used to drive a 560 SEL, W126.
Yes.
Wow. And he loved it.
Yeah.
And I think growing up, that was kind of our bonding time.
Yeah, of course.
I used to be like the cool kid, so it always like, you know, in the summertime on a day like this, he would turn up the 930 turbo, and it was your granddad coming in. I was like, yeah, I think so. You come outside and the car's just there.
Mad, perfect.
And I think that's kind of obviously, you know, very thankful. You know, my parents as well. You know, they took me to a lot of road trips, so you kind of you've shown the ropes a long time before, and I've always kind of been into my cars, and I think, you know, it's growing up. So I wasn't born in London. I was born in Wolverhampton, and I'm not afraid or embarrassed to say that.
What they call it, North,
West Midlands. North. Yeah. So I remember back then, obviously following Gumball Rally, and I think that was kind of like where the first proper like the road trip and the passion. Like you know, literally last night I was watching one of the old Gumball videos coming in. And yeah, I just remember watching like there's you probably saw my story. So you got some Porsche 996 turbos with English plates driving through America, and I was just like, back then it seemed like such an impossible task. You know, and I was like watching them.
Early 2000s. I think that was just
the bit where I thought that I want to do it. So I went to uni in New York in 2010. Okay. I think we were on about this the other day. So that rally started off in London. So my parents brought my brother to London from Wolverhampton to watch that, and I had just started my academic year in New York. So I remember like him just, you know, telling me, oh, we've seen this car. And 7 days later, or whatever, how many days, all the cars then rock up to Times Square, and I happened to be there.
That's it.
So
because I saw that leave London. I was in London.
But I was in New York.
So that is
I
crazy.
saw like the other end of it. Yeah. So, which, you know, talk about, you know, one of my roots and why this New York is kind of such a special place. So I remember seeing like all, you know, Max, Idris Elba, I think the Aston Martin DB9 convertible just come out then as well. So he pulled up. You see all these kind of, you know, English plate cars.
That's
and I was like, that for me, it's. I was speaking. I think we just literally came from Essen. I was like, you don't really pay attention to number plates, and it's such a little thing, but only your petrol head. So when you go out and, you know, it's that kind of. You'll see an English car, you put your hazard lights on, or, you know, I've had this happen so many times. I remember I was driving. I was dropping off a Rolls Royce for a client, literally right at the end of COVID. And I literally just left Florence and I was driving to Rome. So I'm in a Rolls Royce, beautiful day like this, gunning it down to the motorway. And there was an English lorry, and like he literally beeped his horn, flashed his lights, and I was like, it was just such a cool thing.
Yeah, that's a real.
And it's just like, tip
of the hat of, you know.
And that's it. And I was like, you know, you just kind of you become a lot more patriotic.
Yes.
You know, especially when you're traveling, and I think that's, you know, the great thing. And I think as time's gone on, it's just so easy for you to kind of just get up and get into a car, travel to wherever. And I think I just want to take it to like the next stage, because I think during COVID, I remember working a corporate job, and there was a massive lottery, you know, win that night, and he was like, you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And I was like, that's a really good question. Most people say, oh, I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to do this holiday. And I was like, I'll buy a classic Porsche and I'll drive it around the world. And obviously, because I love creating content, I was like, I want to create content and I want to share my journey. I didn't realize that conversation would then become a dream, and I'm literally making it a reality.
An escalator,
and that was
this,
that must have been 2020, 2021. Within 4 years.
It's moving at speed now, and obviously you got the car. You're planning it for what, 2026?
So I'm going to break it down. So at the moment, I'm getting the car ready. So hopefully take it down to Sahara Desert for the Morocco Challenge.
So good.
I'm trying to convince you to call that.
So good.
So that's going to be like the first kind of step. So obviously driving the car around central London and motorway, even if you're like driving it into Belgium and like Paris, like that's one thing. But like obviously you've seen the videos and stuff, like it's intense.
It's something else.
So and I think that's gonna be like the first thing. So I think mechanically I need to, there's a few things I need to do with the car. Once all that's done, and then I'm contemplating to remove the air suspension and put coilovers on it.
Yeah. Okay.
50-50 about that. I don't want to.
They do lift kits for the air suspension, and realistically, it's a well-known and a solid sort of product. So not as finicky as people think. But I guess if you're going to be out in the middle of fucking nowhere,
that's the problem.
That's where you got to think about it. Where if you're on coilover, you say coilos, you're on a spring kit, on a lifted kit and so on, and a spring brakes, any little back corner they can semi-weld it together or put budget. Whereas air suspension, there's no budget.
And I think this is when I was speaking to someone. So speaking to guys at Porsche Club at the moment, and I've kind of had the conversation. A lot of them would turn around and say, you know what, just get with the air suspension, which I'm like, to be honest, I think, so what I plan to do to the car, like the first stage is, once it's all mechanically all good, I'm happy with it, is, put the coilovers, get some big tyres, get some wheels on it. Because this is the thing, it's like, I'll be honest, I don't know much about fixing cars or anything like that, just use taking the mechanic. I've learned so much. Like, for example, the other day, my mate called me and it's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm trying to figure out how big the tank is on the car and how many jerry cans I need in case I break down. Because so the Africa kind of stretch on there's two countries I'll go through. They don't do petrol, just diesel. And obviously how much the Cayennes drink. So
and the moment you put big tires on them, and it's lifted, they're already bad fuel. But to be honest, they've got 100-litre tanks, so they're really good.
I'm talking like nearly 1,000-mile stretch.
So that's 3.5 tanks.
And thinking on that long, so we'll talk about the route in a bit, but there's this long stretch what I'm going to do. But then you're going to be dealing with probably about 3 months where I'm going to be away from home. So you're going to have camera equipment, you're going to have tires, you're going to have jerry cans, you're going to have spare this, spare that, and then clothes. I need clothes. So you'll be going through some kind of mountain areas. You're going to go through the desert. So you're going to have literally everything. So you need to be fully prepared.
You don't. You don't want to be.
I never thought it would be this difficult.
But you know what the good thing is? These Cayennes are now, because they're so capable. Yeah. Like out the box. So you only need to do a few things, and they can conquer things that no Porsche should be able to do. Yeah. But that means that the aftermarket support for these things is mad now. Yeah. It's insane. So I think and people have done in the US they're big. The Morocco. I didn't realize in Spain
they're massive. Yeah,
they're like. Bear in mind they're not cheap in Spain.
This was another thing because I've got so there's another group of people which are going to be doing it from there from Spain. So I didn't realize how big the community is. But I was looking at shops the other day, and it's a company based in Spain. So there's for some reason it hasn't really kicked off in the UK as much as
it's because the UK has green laning, and it's all about your old disco, your Discovery, this getting.
I get that.
So that's where I think the Cayennes just aren't, because I've been a couple of Cayennes that have been turned into overlanding, and then the guys have broken them because no one wanted to buy them. Yeah. And when you think about it, they wanted $8,000 for overland ready Cayenne turbo, and you're like, I paid $8,000 for my totally stock one.
Yeah.
So if you want an overlanding vehicle, this guy's already put $5,000-6,000 into a turbo already. Yeah. And he's trying to sell it for $8,000, and no one wanted it, so he ended up breaking it. Yeah. I've seen 2 of those in the last year and a half since I've been in the community, and I'm just like, so it's not picked up in the UK.
It hasn't picked up. I think it's. I went to Duke of London Merlin's meet on the weekend. I had 3 people come up to me. It's like, well, I think 2 people offered to buy my car, and I was like, I'm not selling it. And then everyone's just like, we want to know more about it. Like, you know, we're obviously slowly starting to follow what you're about to do with it.
Yeah.
And you know, have you been dealing with the car so far? And I was like, to be honest, touch wood, it's been great. But obviously, what I've got planned for it is it can be anything. And I was like, for example, is when I was watching that guy doing it in a brand new Land Cruiser across Europe. So the reason he gave up was he was driving through, I think it was either through Russia or through Kazakhstan, and his something basically hit his windscreen, took the windscreen out, and he couldn't get a replacement. So he ended up taking the car up to, I think, Norway, shipping it back. He got a rental and then drove that rental up until France, but then obviously because of Brexit, he couldn't bring the car in. And it was just such a nightmare. So,
but you know what? Like, I'm pretty sure Cayenne is the same as a Touareg windscreen. Pretty sure.
Yeah, and
because I'm pretty sure A, B, and C pillars are the same.
Yeah, that's right.
So the windscreen's got to be the same.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, Touaregs, I mean, Cayenne's sold by the bucket load anyway.
Oh, yeah.
955s.
Yeah.
957s also, but 955s especially. And so the Touaregs.
Yeah.
So
getting parts
from windscreen point of view, you know, what people do when they switch to standard coil and shock suspension, they put Touareg shocks on the Cayennes.
I've heard this,
for comfort, because what people don't understand, and I'm going to do a separate video on this, Cayennes aren't really comfortable.
Yeah, they're not. I'll be honest.
They're not comfortable because
they're not
Porsche thought, we're Porsche.
Yeah.
Let's make an off-road Porsche that feels and drives like a Porsche, and they smashed it out of the park.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But
it's not a comfortable car.
No.
And I was speaking to someone, and they're like, well, why don't you put racing seats? And I was like, to be honest, the seats that are already in the car, okay, it does the job. But like, for example, like the longest stretch I'm going to do is I think it worked out to 19,000 miles. So that's from me leaving from home, doing the trip and coming back. Obviously, it's going to be broken through stages. And I was like, I don't want to be doing that in bucket seats.
To be honest, one thing I have thought about, the seats, to be honest, are really good seats.
Yeah.
They hold you well, but they're all leather.
Yeah.
So in the heat,
yeah.
So a retrim could be quite pricey, but what I've looked at is 957 GTS seats.
Okay,
half Alcantara.
I know.
Half leather, and they have slightly bigger bolsters.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but it's still a standard Cayenne seat, and they bolt on because the 957, 955 they're the same, just facelift. So you probably look at 1,500, $2,000 for a. If you find
to be honest,
they look really nice.
Yeah.
They'll hold you better with the bolsters without being a sports seat.
Yeah.
And the Alcantara means the back of your legs when you're wearing your fruity shorts, like you're wearing today, and you're across Africa. You're not going to be like.
And that makes a big difference, you know. And it's just like
I hate leather interiors.
Yeah, it's like they look good. Like say the interior, it looks great, but
I love visually looking.
I know what you mean.
I hate living with it.
This is a what is it? So sister's got a Porsche Boxster, and again, that's another car which once it's cooled down, it's great. But as soon as you let's say it's a hot summer's day,
you leave it with the roof off.
Like even when I got into the Cayenne today, and it's like literally straight away, sunroof open the windows, air conditioning on full, and that's it. So, and I think it's just like there's so many little things, because I took the car out to Cotswold on the weekend, got it all clean. It's all, the ride height and everything. You looked at it and I was just like, you saw the exhaust on my car as well. And I was like, one side was like, I can't wait to transform it. The other side, it's going to get battered and I'm going to be taking all the stuff off. So I want to leave all the OEM parts, but I think I will never get rid of this car.
Once you convert it to what you need it to be,
and I'll keep it.
And you do your trip, it will be. It's a bit like Ed Bolian's Merc, the set of Cannonball. Right?
It's like, he wouldn't get rid of it. And I think it has a lot of sentimental value.
But this is the worth is the sentimental value, not the financial gain. Because realistically, by the time it comes back, it's going to be battered.
Oh yeah.
It's going to have another 100,000. What's it? 20,000.
So how I'm planning it. So obviously the idea is to go 7 continents. Now, problem number one, Antarctica. I can't take the car there. which I'm gutted about because I think it's too many rules, regulations. You'd have certain cars which are kind of approved, and obviously, without getting into too much politics, it's kind of divided into different countries. So one country's got this part and so on, and there's only a small part of it, and that's not going to happen. Although I would like to drive a car out there, so I'm speaking to the guys that basically supply the cars over here. So that will kind of be like the final bit of the trip. So basically, how I'm going to start is Morocco, Sahara Desert. I'll probably
So you start from London down to, or you do the leg down to Morocco to do the Morocco experience and leave it there and then set off from there. Or
I'm still going to daily it. And I think so. Basically, I think how I'm going to split it is, and we'll probably transport the car out to Tarifa, so the bottom of Spain, take it into Morocco, do the challenge, and then I want to drive the car back. So basically, as soon as I'm back in state,
you want to drive back?
Yeah, I know it's
mad. I'd normally think of it the other way. You're excited to get there, so you want to drive the car there.
I thought about it,
do the thing, and then you're exhausted. You're like, okay, I'm getting on a plane.
You know what my biggest problem is?
Turbo, come and get.
As soon as I'm out of the UK, doesn't matter how tired the adrenaline keeps you going. Yeah, and I've done. You can read the stories in the book, some of the stuff that I've done.
Yeah.
The experiences, like there's parts that you're driving and you're like, I'm awake for like 48 hours straight, and you keep on going. But then as soon as I do come back home, crash, that's it. You need to kind of
that is adrenaline, just
and it keeps you going. It's mental. I remember so one of my mates, so we were doing which drove to Sofia in Bulgaria. So the idea was go to Munich. My brother was going to pick a car up and we're going to drive back, and we're going to drive to Sofia. What most people, think it's about. It's a long drive. Yeah. For me, I was like, this is before the rallies even started. So we ended up getting to Serbia, and so basically one thing, and this is another thing that you learn. So certain parts of the world are still kind of old school. So if you're going to, one with Serbia, if you don't have the physical V5 logbook of the car, they won't let you in. You can have a photographic with the best quality.
You've got to take the actual.
He turned me back at the border. So then I was like, what do we do now? And so I got my brother, he's in an X4M, I'm in my car. And
was this last summer or something?
This was about last summer, the summer before.
I remember seeing it in your story. Yeah.
So then I was like, shit, what do I do now? So then he was like, well, so we cut from Croatia, tried to go to Serbia, they wouldn't let us in. They go back. Croatia's like, well, if they've turned you back, we can't let you in. I was literally just in your country. And so they literally, so we want to check the car and stuff. I was like, fine, whatever. It's kept me there, checked the car and everything. And then we drove, Croatia basically let us in. We then drove to Bosnia, drove through some like sketchy part, me and my brother. And my brother's never driven in Europe by himself before.
Oh, wow.
So this was kind of like literally throwing him into the deep end. And obviously you're driving like, say, like France, Germany, whatever, but I'm like, you're driving through like fields and like the farm of Bosnia in an X4M. I'm in a Jeep. And then, so basically what they said was, so we got through Bosnia. It's not where you're going. It's like, we want to get to, Bulgaria. And they're like, okay, cool. They're like, you take the wrong border. I was like, yeah, that border wouldn't let us in. They were super cool about it. And then they're like, okay, fine, let us into Bosnia, get through there, drive through the other border of Serbia and go through there. And the lady was just like, check the passports where you're going. And she's like, oh, it's the wrong border. I was like, yeah, I'm fully aware, but I was like, this is the story. And she was like, fine, let's stamp the passport. Me and brother's like, we've literally just waited half a day. And they've literally just go, and this is where it comes to like the planning and preparation of, planning these sort of trips. Like you need to make sure what borders are open, what routes are open. If you're taking a ferry, is that ferry going to be running on a certain day?
Yes.
And it's just like, this is, I've done, the gumballs in the past, and you don't realize how much kind of planning and preparation, and you have a whole team preparing. I still have an all job, and this is another job on top of that job, and it's just kind of like every moment it's like a couple of hours here, a couple of hours there. You kind of do this research, find out, can I go through here? And like, for example, what I would like to do is So obviously, you've got Morocco, and there's a couple of events in Europe which are happening. So you've got Fat Ice International.
Yeah.
Ice Maritz happen to be on the same weekend. So I'm thinking that if
That
I
tie him in.
Oh yeah, so basically, I think I'm going to do Ice Maritz, and it's about a 4-5 hour drive to Zell am See in Austria.
Yeah.
Smash that one out, and then come back, and then South America next year. So this is where the whole road trip kind of started.
Yeah.
So I have a list of the most dangerous roads in the world that I wanted to do. So, and that was kind of, I remember sitting there probably at the start of last year, and I was like, I'm going, because I kind of like, for me, it's like one thing is I want to tick off as many countries off as possible.
Yeah.
And then I also have a list of places that are the most dangerous. So, number one is Death Road in Bolivia.
Oh, that one in Bolivia? The one on the side of the mountain?
Yeah.
I don't know why that's even a thing.
So, and for me, that was always, and I was just sitting there, I was like, mate, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to be able to do it.
No.
So,
you're not going to do it the moment you got kids.
So I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to kind of, do that trip. So that's where it all started. So one of my friends, she used to live in Chile. And I was like, how bad is it over there? And like, Gurps, I know what you like. First things first, do not hire a big fancy 4x4. And I was just like, why do you say that? She goes, I know what you like. So it's like, there's so many things like, the chance of getting kidnapped. She started sending me like videos of like stories. And I was like, oh shit, okay. And I was like, it is what it is. Some of the countries like,
no Rolex,
no Rolex, no gold, no nothing. So like all that stuff. And
no Tom Fords.
Yeah. But the thing is, I've been robbed in London, but no, I lie. In Italy as well. Passport.
No, Italy.
So we were driving back from Gumball, which finished off in Mykonos.
Mm-hmm.
10 cars driving back, and we're like just cruising along, and we're like, stop at the Ferrari Museum. I'd never been there, so some of the cars went to the car wash. I blocked my friend's car in, and for some reason, I don't know why, I have my little man bag, and I thought, I don't want to carry it around. It's super hot. It's left in the car. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to be inside the museum half an hour tops. The only time we've been driving through, not saying that these countries are dangerous, but like some sketchy parts in Eastern Europe where you kind of thought something would happen. And this is another thing as well, where I think there's a lot of stereotypes in certain parts of the world, and I think I want to kind of break that barrier. And we've literally gone inside, obviously find a couple of souvenirs, and we've got a WhatsApp group. It's like, Gurps, I've got a picture of my window being smashed in. My friend's like, what have you left in your car? And I was like, oh, shit. Everything is in there. The only thing I carried with me that day was my camera. And I almost didn't. My mate's like, well, you're like the person that was creating content, bring the camera and get some pictures. So I almost didn't take my camera. And everything from that Gumball rally, from that road trip, was on that memory card. So luckily I had that just by chance. And we kind of, go outside to the car, and I'll never forget. This is my brother's first proper road trip away. So Mom's like, take care of him. And I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. Come out to the car, and it's all been smashed in. Taken our luggage, everything. So both my suitcase, obviously, and you're talking, it's like 35, 36 degrees. You're in t-shirt and shorts. So you want to change your, clothes.
Yeah, of course.
And passports, everything's been nicked. And I remember I was being there, and I was like, don't know what to do now. And we went to the police station, and they're like, we can't do anything. Obviously, siesta, everything's kind of on a very kind of skeleton kind of schedule at that point. And they're like, well, if we find something, we'll send something there. So luckily I get a police report. I remember sister messaging, it's like, where are you at the time? Me and my brother was like, we're at the police station. She automatically thinks it's like the worst possible thing. So the full story's in the book. But mate, I remember coming back home like 2 days later. So that was probably like the worst experience. But then I think I've been so lucky that I've had so many experiences, so many kind of situations that I've been in, that it's kind of prepared me for what I'm about to do. So nothing phases me
if anything, little glimpses of different scenarios you could find yourself in, and how to negate these. And what your friend was saying about Chile, like in Mexico, it's not.
I've spoken to you about Mexico before,
but there's certain areas you just wouldn't want to go with. You wouldn't want to go there, to the border, because all the border towns are cartel run. So even though they're not interested in you, you can get caught in the middle of something. They're not interested. Trust me, you're nobody to them, right? They know what they, and this is what some people don't understand. Like, unless you're out there flaunting it, like you're outside flaunting it, right? No one cares.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody cares, because they've got bigger fish
to
fry.
Yeah.
They've got guaranteed targets, so guaranteed people.
Yeah.
Right? They're not bothered about some guy driving.
Well, I think,
right? So it's only if you put yourself in those situations where somebody might take an opportunity to, and no one's going to go and target you to, you know.
And I think this way you need to be kind of street smart as well.
Yes, exactly. You got to have that wit about you to just whiff out any danger, but also not put yourself in those situations. And if you do find yourself in a situation, just find a way to, like,
you have a backup
diffuse
plan.
that situation. You know, either want your Apple Watch, you know what? Happy
and
birthday! Here is my Apple Watch. I'm off. You keep the watch. You know, it's about understanding and diffusing those situations. But I think obviously through those experiences and, you know, being where you've been. I mean, you've been to freaking Russia. You've been.
I was there literally. I was. Politics and religion, two things I don't like talking about discussing, but I was there literally 5 days before the war kicked off. I felt safe there. I know a lot of people, may kind of disagree. Their car culture is out of this world. So that is a positive.
You see it all. To be honest,
everything.
I follow so many W220 accounts from Russia. Because they're
Maybachs.
They're all there.
Maybachs, G-Wagon, and they're all the kind of also we're a Mercedes museum, all the AMGs, which you don't really see immaculate over there. I remember, so one of my mates is from Moscow, and I was like, bro, I actually ended up taking my parents and my brother and we went on a Christmas holiday to Moscow. This is back in 2019. One of the best trips I've ever had. And I was just like, I want to rent a car. And he was like, listen, he goes, it's a bit, sketchy. Obviously, first time, enjoy it if you want to drink. Obviously, zero tolerance on alcohol over there. And I was like, I'm going to be with a family. So he's like, why don't you just get Wheelie? So Wheelie's kind of like a car kind of, it's like an Uber, but obviously a bit more luxury. And he's like, you can get a Maybach. So equivalent of so their airport is, say, imagine Gatwick Airport traveling to central London. How much do you think it costs for a Maybach? And the Maybachs are just, so that, what is it? The W222? Yeah. So how much do you think it costs?
500?
60 quid for one.
Mate, I pay that in a ropey, in a absolutely.
So you imagine going from
Prius
a Gatwick
to go to Gatwick.
And what made it, so there was some event going on, so there's a bit of a delay. And said to the driver, actually, I'm at this point, am I going to get charged extra? And obviously, in the back of my mind, I was just like, you're still in a foreign country. So don't worry about it. He's like, we have a set fee. And I was like, mate, this is sick. So we just like every so often, I was like, it's take two Maybach. So like I put my parents in another Maybach. Sister didn't really know much, and it's me and my brother sat in the back over there and connected, the phone, with the music. Obviously, anyone that knows me, I'm into my Russian music. The guy's just like, what the hell? And I'm just pulling up, and it's like minus 12, minus 13. Pulling up, like you can see like the red square, see the hotels, snow, two Maybachs and Convoy. It was just sick. It was incredible. And,
absolutely sick.
And I think this is another thing which I posted something about Japan this morning, which you saw. And I was like, being very fortunate where I've been to so many different places, and you kind of appreciate all the different car cultures. Like you go to the US, it's like you go to, say, the more further south that you go, there's a thing called donking. So they have massive wheels on the old cars. And I never really knew what that was until I think we were doing the Gumball Rally in 2022. And like more further south that we went, you start seeing more stuff. I didn't realize how big NASCAR was over there as well. So we did what is it? It's from Ricky. I was listening to a song earlier on today.
Ricky Bobby.
Talladega Speedway.
Yeah.
So we did hot laps, and and again, these are like the amazing experiences that we've had. And I was like, I didn't realize how good NASCAR was until I went there. And it was like 40 plus degrees, and we went out the night before, so we were hungover. And I'm not the smallest guy, but they don't have doors that open the car, so you literally got to climb in. So climb the car. You imagine it's like 42, 43 degrees. You've got the heat.
I don't have to imagine it's hot right now. So can you?
Oh, mate, it's mental. You kind of get to the point, like here, like today's like hot. There's a bit of sweat. when you're in that temperature, you're just like, it is what it is. Like, it's fine.
You don't fight.
And you get into the car, and I was like, I want to film it. And he's like, trust me. He goes, once you get into the car, he goes, you won't be able to move. And I was like, what's this guy on about, mate? So as soon as you come out the pit lane, and he basically kind of moves towards the right, you get to the wall, and you're looking at it, and I was like, one wrong move, and you basically do 200 miles per hour. So I think we hit like just over like 201, 202 miles per hour. And you're in that car, in that temperature, and you're just like, it's just one of the crazy experience. And I think this is the thing, like, I've been so fortunate.
Insane.
Yeah. And I was like, and then I think it was last year, there was a documentary, like a TV series on Netflix about NASCAR, and I think I appreciate it a lot more.
I've seen it, and I'm really meaning to watch it.
Watch it, honestly. You learn a lot more, and I think this is like one of the reasons why I want to kind of do this trip is kind of share. Obviously, I love creating content, so I want to kind of show people, how things through my eyes. Like, if you want to be bougie and go to these big fancy restaurants, go for a nice, you can do that. But you want to. I'm considering maybe like kind of camping in a few places. Like for me, like I think the older you get, it's like you appreciate nature a lot more. I was like, I would love to just pull up in the middle of Iraq or somewhere, just park up the Cayenne, open up the windows and just kind of camp under the stars. And I was like, for me, like that would be one of the best experiences ever.
That would be so sick. But to be honest, Mark McCann and Bagsy did that in a fucking taxi.
In a black cab,
in a black cab, in a London cab. So, so it proves that
it can be done. I think
there's a will, there's a way, right? And I think you've got that will, so you will make it happen. And I think in the Cayenne, prepared with all the bits that you need. You only need the front two seats, really. Well, realistically,
you don't really need the back seat.
So you can easily
I'll put
convert
the
back
down.
To a sort of sleeping quarters, sort of where you can just put it down, have an air mattress, whatever. So at any point
I need tires and stuff. So that's the sort of and that's the problem. Like, when I first started planning it, I was like, I've got plenty of space. I'll be able to get a suitcase in, put all the stuff, and then I was speaking to someone, and they were like, "You give me a list of like things that I should basically consider for the marathon challenge." And I was just like, "This is only like literally gonna be a quick 2-week trip. Go there, go back." And I was just like, "Jerry cans, I need tires, and wheels."
After that Morocco challenge,
that will be
you will really understand. Yes,
what kind of goes into it.
But this is why a lot of them have that spare tire carrier. Now, I'd love to say go and get the OE one.
You can't,
but it's rare as.
You can't.
And people charge their amount of another ropey Cayenne just for that. And the thing is, you got to cut the bumper. You've got to, which is why from factory they were so. But those are sick. But there's loads of aftermarket options, and that I think works because a lot of the people that done the aftermarket options have done it. So is a tire carrier, but then they've put space to mount like 2 jerry cans or a jerry can and a medical thing or a toolbox. So they've done it in a way where. I've seen one where it's got an attachment then that would clip onto your roof bars. Or if you don't have their roof bars, you can have their rooftop thing, and then you can put then you bolt across. So essentially, where the spoiler is, you all of a sudden have another sort of support there, and I guess that's where
the one big problem with that. Obviously, the more weight the car, and I would say it's not it's the juiciest car in the world as it is. So, and I was having a very interesting conversation with someone last week, and he was just like, "Yeah, it's a great idea. You've got to keep it simple." And what do you mean? He goes, "Yeah, obviously it looks great having 10 massive lights in the front of the car. When are you really going to use it?" And I was just like,
drag.
"That's true." And then he was just like, "Just keep it simple because you got the more stuff." He goes, "No one really cares." And I think he's done it. He's done quite a few of them. He's from Arizona. And he was like, "You're just doing it just it looks good," but he goes, "Just be practical." And someone else I was speaking to, the security aspect of it. He's like, "You've got jerry cans." I'd mentioned to you, before earlier on. So there's so going through Africa. So basically, Spain, Morocco. I can't go from Morocco into Algeria because there's a conflict there. I have to go down to Western Sahara. So and then from Western Sahara, I was like, then next to it, you got Senegal. So one of my mates, so he's got a G-Wagon, so he lives in Paris, and he's like, I want to do the Paris-Dakar. So he's like insane like me.
Yeah.
So he's now decided that I'm basically going to drive to Paris. We're going to drive from Paris and do the old Paris-Dakar rally.
Sick.
He obviously speaks French.
Yeah.
And then he will, I say this like down the road, he will then drive back to Paris, and I will once you get to Dakar, Senegal. From there, the next country, I think Mauritania, I think that's one of the countries where they don't do petrol, they don't do diesel. So one of my mates like, you need to fill up. So luckily, I have a friend, coincidentally, who used to live in London, but he's in Senegal, and he was like, I can arrange for that for you.
Yeah.
So that was one problem. So this is what the planning preparation. Like, I think I posted something on Instagram. Was like, these are countries. Has anyone got any experience of going to X, Y?
Okay.
And you learn a lot. And so I thought, I just want to go into Africa. I'll do Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, come back into Europe. So I was like, I've kind of conquered that. My mate was like, yeah, you can't do that. So you've got to go down to Senegal. So the problem is, he goes, on the GPS, when you get to Mauritania, naturally it's going to tell you to go to Western Sahara, because I think it's the quickest route. But he goes, the thing is, if you go to Western Sahara, Algeria are going to think that you come from Morocco, so they won't let you in. So he goes, you've got to ignore the GPS and basically carry on going up north Mauritania. And then when you cross the border, one of my mates, he said that he goes, you might need a police escort. So these are things I just need to kind of have a look into as well. He goes, a high chance you're getting kidnapped over there. I'm thinking, bloody hell, it's just like, I just wanted to cross into Africa. And sounds so easy, but again, this is where I think I was speaking to someone the other day. It's like, oh, well, you've broken it up into different stages. Like, first of all, I can't, do it all in one hit.
No.
It's tiring.
It makes no sense. Yeah. Also, I don't think
you won't
it'd be as enjoyable. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you get to a point where you've done such a long leg, you become almost tiresome and sort of a burden.
Yeah.
You need to switch off.
Yeah.
Have a reset. Come back to the first world again.
Yeah.
And then be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Second leg, let's go.
You've got to break it up, and I think basically, okay, that it's one of the risks. And then come back into, I think, Italy, cut across like Turkey, Greece. Albania, Greece, Turkey. So that's that's already a massive part of it already, which most people haven't done.
Yeah.
And then the problem. It's not really a problem, but then you're going to Iraq, and then one of the options is you cut the amount of time that you're in Iran, but then you go to Afghanistan, which is ruled by the Taliban.
Yeah,
and I was just like, I don't know which one to go through, and then
less worse.
So I know some people that have gone through Iraq. So Iraq have just basically announced it's very easy to get an e-visa. I know people that have done that route.
Okay.
So that's surprisingly a country I'm not really worried about.
Okay.
Saying that, and then getting into Pakistan and go to India. So obviously my heritage, for me, it was like a dream to kind of, take the car there. And I was like, so you got the Golden Temples on already see. So I was like, it'd be such a flex just turning up, to there in your English, plated Porsche. But then obviously there's a conflict going on between India and Pakistan at the moment. So they've closed the border. And I was like, if that border's closed, I've got no way of getting there unless I take the other route of going through Russia, China, that way. But the idea of that trip was to go through, like, say, India, Mount Everest Base Camp, China, and come to Russia. So these are the things that, and I was like, to ask me 2 weeks ago when I planned, finished planning the route, I would never even thought that would be an issue.
I guess politics play such a big part.
Massively.
And it's constantly evolving and changing landscape.
And you've got to adapt.
So you almost kind of can't have too much of a set route. You've got to be on your toes when you're doing that leg. Then as to what's going on at that time. So that was kind of like another thing which I'm kind of worrying about. So I'm kind of looking at different options, and I'm hopefully by the time I get to that point, it's all kind of blown over, everything's fine. And then the other thing was I was looking at like through Tibet and China. And if you look for Google Maps, there's no road, there's nothing that really exists on Google Maps that gets you from, say, Nepal up into Kazakhstan. So that kind of stretch in between, nothing exists.
So you look on Google Maps. So I'm just like, okay. So I literally went into like ChatGPT and Google. I go, what's the distance between, I think, Nepal and Kazakhstan? And it came with the mileage. I was like, okay, so I've got a rough indication as to how long it's going to take. Another thing which I've learned recently, if you're going through China and you're driving with a foreign car, you need to have someone else from their country with you as a tour guide. Otherwise, they won't let you in.
In a foreign car?
In a foreign car.
So you've got to hire a Chinese person
and
at the border.
They will be with you from the border until you enter, until you leave.
Mad.
So, and then you kind of get to Kazakhstan. I've got a couple of friends. So you probably heard Campagini. Yeah. So they're in Kazakhstan at the moment.
So I have to say he's doing.
And he's made it look so easy.
Yes.
And it isn't.
No. I imagine.
And there's a lot that goes into it, and then from there, going to Russia, which obviously I've been there before the war. Without getting into too much politics, it's a country I want to explore a lot more. There's so much there to offer. I have a lot of friends and stuff.
But this is what I was going to say, because you've got friends and
it helps
familiar with the culture. It allows you to approach it a lot different than if it was a foreign. You're foreign, but you've got that foot in the door already of understanding the culture and having friends out there. Whereas if it was somebody that hasn't, they just want to go to Russia to experience and they haven't, I think they would have a slightly worse sort of experience trying to make it happen. Whereas you, I guess you can pull on your experience and on your connections to negate.
Like you've got to. I'm not going to say it's not going to be easy because it's like the funny thing is that when you go to say Moscow and St. Petersburg, I say that because that's a massive country that I'm going to have to go through. And then you go through there, and when you're outside, a lot of them speak Russian. Now, I speak a bit of Russian, but it's not perfect.
They don't speak English over there. Like the moment you're outside of the
and that's like a lot of major cities. It's I was in Baku earlier on this year as well. It's like when you're in Baku around like the touristy places, everyone speaks English. It's fine. But then I went out to it's a funny story. So I rented a Land Cruiser and I thought I want to do a bit of a road trip. Yeah, so got the Land Cruiser. Company was amazing. Really really simple. Spoke on WhatsApp and everything beforehand, and I told them that I basically want to just get some content. So it worked both ways. So then I picked up the car. Obviously, it's hard. You always kind of get that, that massive excitement. So I rented the car out, and I was just like, for me, it's become a bit of a thing with me. There's certain pictures which people kind of associate me with. So me, it's kind of like a road sign and a picture of the car.
And the car.
That's always been
that's your trademark photo.
I'm looking at the map, and I was like, obviously, I'm getting back. I was like, I can get that's not a problem. I was like, there's two signs that I want to get. It's either going to be Georgia, or Iran. So the Iranian border from Baku is only about a couple of hours away.
Okay.
I thought, fuck it, got into the car, and driving. I'm thinking about it, and I literally flipped a coin, and I was like, whichever one it lands on, I'm going to drive to that.
Border,
Get in the car, Iran. So literally driven to the Iranian border, and I've kind of got that iconic picture, the Land Cruiser with the board for Iran. I was like, it was such a cool thing. And the funny thing is, again, talking about cultures, and I think this has come over time. You've got to adapt, and there's going to be times where people have never seen foreigners, and I think a lot of people they kind of underestimate that. And I think growing up, obviously, it wasn't the cool thing to learn a different language. I wish I did.
It was never. No.
And it got to a point. So you come out of Baku, and obviously your cars are registered under Baku, and you're heading out. So I got pulled over with, I think, about 4 times in that space, like 2 hours, just from general checks, And one guy, I remember,
because of the car, or because they could see you were like
a bit of
different looking person through the windscreen.
And this is the funny thing with me, and I've never I can kind of adapt. So people when I was in Cuba last year, people thought I was Cuban, and then obviously I got friends that are Arabs. It's like, oh, you kind of look Saudi, and Indian. You kind of adapt to different things. So I think they probably thought I was, I kind of look like a local person. But obviously, I think they just stopped me over because they're seeing a car from Baku, and obviously it's a Land Cruiser. It is a big car, especially when you come out of the big city. It stands out. So the guy, it's just general checks, and I was like, at the end of these guys are just there to do their job. You know,
Yeah.
so at the end, you cooperate with them. You are a guest in their country, and again, this is something obviously it just comes with time. It's respect. At the end of the day, it's just like if someone was to come over here, you're trying to help them out, but you've got to have that. And I think that comes with time, and you learn how certain parts of the world. I can't remember where I was, and I got pulled over, and I'm the only Indian person in that group, and we kind of got to the point, and they're always just like, "You always trim your beard whenever we do a road trip together." I was like, "It is what it is."
Yeah.
And we would drive. I can't remember. We would drive. I think it was around like North Macedonia, that kind of part of the world. And so we used to like kind of take turns and drive in. And I think we're driving back from Ibiza. I think I don't know. It's like it's a massive blur, but they get pulled over, and so we're in convoy. I'm the first car, and there's about 5-6 cars behind. So we all had like walkie-talkies, and mates is like, "Gurps, you know what to do?" It's like, "Yeah, fine." So if I'm at the back, I'll just kind of get to the front. I was like, by the time I get past, and they're going to stop me, they're going to question me, whatever. All my other mates have got through, and we just kind of meet up together and carry on driving. I get pulled over to one side. I was like, "Sorry, sir, it's a random search." Oh, that's funny. I go, "I'm the only person that you've pulled over," and like mates, they're like Essex boys. I'm like, they're totally different, but the best people in the world. Honestly, love them to bits. And we've done so many trips together. And so the guy pulls me over and he opens up my bonnet, and so where you put like the windscreen washer, so it's like a white kind of clear kind of casing. Points it's like cocaine. I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Cocaine." I was like, "Mate, it definitely isn't." And then he was just like, money. I was like, "Mate, if that, I'd rather you just say that you want me to pay you a bribe." Yeah, and I'll just pay it. I've got no issues. Over and do it. I was like, at that time, I didn't have the local currency. I had euros, and I was like, "You know what? I've got euros." "Oh, no good. And I was like, "I'm offering you money, and you're rejecting it." "Oh, forget it. Close the lid. Didn't go." And I was like, "Okay, fine." I was like, "If he doesn't want the money, I'm crack on with it." We were doing another road trip. This is a couple of years ago. So my mate, he had his G-Wagon, got flat tire in the middle of outside. Was it Montenegro? I think it was in Serbia. And so he gets a flat tire, calls us up, "Mate, listen." He goes, "I'm obviously in the G-Wagon, we're in the middle of the mountains." No, it was Bosnia. I think it was Bosnia again. And he calls me, and I was like, "That's fine. We're going to rock up." So we, rocked up with another G-Wagon X4M, get there, change the tires, and but it's just like one of the best experiences, And it's just like, as he dropped his pin, and he was just like, "Make sure you get some cash." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "There's loads of police up into the mountains," and he's like, "They're going to expect a bribe." I was like, "That's fine, cool, whatever. It is what it is." Certain countries, I was like, "You know what? It's just not worth the aggro." It's just how they work. And so got some cash out, small notes, changed it, and we're driving. In the space of 30 to 40 minutes, I think we pulled over about 5 times. And it kind of got to the point. The first time, I had a bit of a conversation. He wanted a bribe. After the second time, as soon as I get there, I was like, literally just straight away. He gave me
money,
£5.
Passport, money in the middle.
It wasn't even the passport. It was just like, he literally pulled over, put the window, "Here's the money, crack on." And I was like, "You know what? I don't mind, but I'd rather you just get straight to the point." Yeah. And it was just, oh mate, that was one of the craziest nights, because you got like, there's a famous picture. So we're at a petrol station when we went to cross the border into Montenegro. So we've got 2 G-Wagons, and we've got an X4M, all blacked out, tinted red. Like, we just looked like the map. It was just such a sick time. And it's just like, there's just so many different stories, but you kind of put in these situations.
But this is what I was going to say. This is what happens when you put yourself in those situations, and you experience but it's the experiences you go through, and I think it's crazy that you've already experienced.
I've seen a lot.
So yeah. So I think this road trip that you're planning is going to be sick. I think you're going to smash it out of the park. I think you put the right planning in place. You do it in legs. I think the content that you'll get is going to be insane. And I think obviously we need to make sure that we're reaching out to people. Like I said, I'll help you reach out to some people.
It's just all about networking. To get the story out.
Because it's going to work out for everybody. The car's going to be liveried up. you know, you're gonna
so
have your
I'm looking
you
at
know,
different designs and stuff at the moment. I don't know if I'll do it in time for Morocco because the car's going to get battered. And for me, this is just kind of an exercise, but it will get stickered up. So I'm working on these designs at the moment. And then obviously when we do the bigger trip, then you know there is a wrap which I've kind of got in mind. And it's just like get some branding on it. Just like it is going to be like a moving billboard.
Yeah, but this is it. This is it exactly. And I think there'll be brands out there that will be very, very excited to be part of a thing. And it's not a randomer like me arrives and I'm going to do a trip around the world, look up what a Cayenne.
Yeah.
This is going to be like the seasoned
proper.
No, but this is what I'm saying. The person approaching them is a seasoned professional. Like I do these things. I've done gumballs. I've done this. On that, you know, like, and there's that pedigree and there's that experience where they'll instantly obviously take you seriously, and when they start understanding, you know, but then you've got a bit more of a route and a bit more of like a, you know, sort of presentation deck, like pitch, and they'll love it, and I think they'll be on board. And even for Morocco, I think you know, even if it's a couple of sponsors, so you get it, on, you know, get that ball rolling, you know, it attracts more eyes. That Morocco thing looks so.
Mate, I've literally got an empty car.
My parents have been to Morocco because they live in the south of Spain, just outside Malaga, and they've driven to Morocco in their Pathfinder Minister.
Oh, sweet.
Pathfinder's crossed over for the day. Day trip. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah. So from then on, you know, if you could carry on driving down Casablanca, Marrakesh.
Well, that's a route because, and one of the reasons why I think about transporting the car there, I'm kind of looking at a route, and I was like, obviously, once you've cut into Schengen, if you break down, call RAC, mate, listen, I need the car transported back home. So, you know, you pay for that. So I think that's why I think you kind of underestimate how fortunate you are being over here. So I would love to take the car. Like, I've never been to Marrakesh. I've never been to Casablanca. I remember the old gumballs. So when they went to Morocco, you see some of the videos, and I was like, watching that, and I was like, I want to do that. Yeah.
Marrakesh is sick. I really enjoyed Marrakesh. It's absolute, it's so tourist heavy. That square is an absolute, you know,
but it'd be cool
madness,
to kind of,
but from a you know, you're gonna drive through, you're gonna spend the night in a really nice riad, like you're gonna probably park outside.
I don't know. I think I will look a bit battered and turning up in a Porsche Cayenne, but then I get it's an English plate, so maybe it's a bit flex.
And they got loads of travelers, there's loads of American backpackers and stuff, so they're used to that. Somebody who looks a bit scruffy, but actually they're not scruffy people. They just happen to look a bit scruffy because they're on a journey.
And I think that's why obviously, you know, you pull up to a hotel or, you know, a place with a car, you know, with, you know, the stickers on it, you know, with English plate, they'll get it straight away.
They'll get it straight away.
They'll have like Morocco stickers on the car. And then the route back, I've never been to Andorra. That's cool. Let's see, this is what it comes into, like, this country number 56. I'm literally just going to go there, you know, fill up, get something to eat, and then looking at the route back, I've never been to Le Mans.
I've driven past Le Mans. I've never been to Le Mans. You know what I want to do? What loads of people say that you should do Le Mans Classic.
Yeah, that looks really cool. And I think I'm more into like the older. Obviously, you've got two, you know, beautiful classic cars over here. And
this is, I think, I want to do Le Mans Classic. It's definitely something that I want to do. I remember coming back from a Volkswagen show called VW Days.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And normally it lands the same weekend. That's Le Mans, not classic Le Mans. But I remember coming back on the ferry, and you see all these Porsches, Ferraris, all the supercars with mud along the side because they've obviously got stuck. Because the whole point is you camp and their weekend or whatever. And I thought, you know, I really want to do that. So now with the Cayenne, like I do want to experience that thing. You know, go 2-3 sub. You know, couple of tents in the back. You know,
like one thing
I want to do that. Yeah, exactly. I really want to experience that. You know, and like I said, they're not comfortable cars, these, so you might as well use them for like a road trip or something more than, because mine's just like, it literally exists because the baby, I wanted a cool car for the baby to be in when the baby was born. So
we have such a similar taste because I used to have a W220 S500 S-Class.
Yeah.
So when I saw I remember seeing yours at, I think it's the first time we met, it was at Players Classic, Goodwood. I remember seeing it. I didn't realise it was your car. And obviously coming in today, we saw straight away, we've seen the SLR, we see the Gen 1 Maybach, and I was like, I think the older you get, you kind of appreciate the cars that you kind of looked up to.
I think
it's a bit more boring now, I think.
Right, you know what? Like, I think that very, very late 90s, but on to 2010, 2011, that was peak. That was peak. I would say that's peak human sort of existence because it was it was digital enough to be digital and be cool.
Yeah, the best of both
but it was
worlds.
analog enough to, and it was wild, and it was kind of, 80s and 90s was super cool, but things didn't really work properly.
But I think that's kind of like
but this is what I'm saying, which is why from like 98 to 2010, 2011, that sort of 10, 12 years, everything was refined enough. So AC worked, electric windows worked, cool sound systems worked without them being taking out the whole boot. Things got refined.
That's true.
But still, there were still manual cars, still aggro like turbo lags, still, styling was very, very. All cars now they look the same.
They look the same.
They all look the same, right? Whereas then
you knew what it was by looking at a headlight.
This is what's going to get at. Like you look at a CLK, right, with the twin headlights, right, and you look at an M3, and the E46, right,
iconic.
And then this is
even this is more of a petrol head thing, but there were certain sounds from certain cars which you didn't even have to look at. I think you like, this is E46 M3.
The E46 you can hear it a mile. But this is what I'm saying. Like even Porsche with the 996, the Cayenne, they had their own. Everything was so different. You look at everything now, and every headlight is like slightly square with a bit of a cat's eye lift. Right?
You didn't know what you don't know what it is.
And if you cover up the grille, the badge, and go by the head, you can't tell. The rear is just. You don't know, is that the rear of a Porsche? Is that the rear of a Citroen?
Yeah, no,
because they both got the bar.
They've got the bar,
and then the brake lights at the end, and it's like, is it from the distance? You don't know if that's a 992 or a Citroen C3, whatever. Or
this is I think even within the manufacturers, like obviously, I'm a massive Porsche fan. I've always been a massive Porsche fan, and it's not until like the latest generation, like the GT2 RS and the GT3 RS, and not until you kind of really look into it. You realize, okay, this is a turbo, or this is GT, RS, or like, what is it? One of my favorite modern day cars, 911R. But then they introduced the GT3 Touring, which, to be honest, if it wasn't for the badge, they look like the same car. But then 99, I think for me, after obviously the Cayenne's kind of become more. It's always a car I've always wanted, but my all-time favorite car is 996 Turbo.
996 Turbos are so.
But then the thing was, it's like even that generation. You looked at a Carrera 4S, you knew that strip along the back.
A 996 4S is the best rear end of any Porsche.
I agree.
Full stop. I love because it's the wide body, because it's the S. And then you got that strip.
You had that strip. But you knew just by looking at that strip, it was a 4S. You knew by looking at a turbo, because you had the spoiler. But then even, what is the Widowmaker, the GT2?
GT2.
So when the GT, you knew that was, and there's not that much in it, but you knew the difference by looking.
The front bumpers are different, and obviously the rear, but the aero's different, similar but different. And I totally agree. Whereas now it's just like, I don't know, I think, for me, so E46 M3, like I'm gagging to get one right now.
Incredible car.
So I annoyingly I'm thinking about maybe the S500 going, because it serves no purpose at home. I know.
I love that car.
It's got no ISOFIX, because it's got the long wheelbase, so it's the reclining seats. It's got no ISOFIX. Can't have it. So baby can't go in the back. It's so long. You know what? Of pain. Parking long cars is.
Obviously with my work, some of the cars.
This is what I'm saying.
Even like coming in now, so obviously coming into the car park, there was a car on either side. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to park there. So I reverse in, and I don't think the Cayenne's are particularly a big car.
No.
And there was this old couple walking by, just looked at me like disgust, like, oh, he's gone over into that line. I was like, yeah, but that car's. It's like he's moved over into that lane, so it's just but anything like the S500. I know
this is what I'm saying, because it's a long wheelbase. It's just you can't park it anywhere. I love it. It's so comfortable. It's got the best AC.
That was the last of the most comfortable cars.
But I can't use it. Like can't take the baby in it. Right. Can't park anywhere. So if I'm going into London, I can't really take it. If I'm going anywhere with multi-story car parks, I can't take it, right? So I can only drive into the countryside where there's more space. Apart from that, and only on my own. When am I, now that I've got a kid, when am I ever going to go on my own anywhere?
Yeah, no, that's true as well. So
yeah.
You got to start him young.
He already loves his car. car.
That's amazing.
I love it because I didn't even push on him because I don't want to push anything on him. Whatever naturally develops, I'll let him. He loves tractors. He's been given loads of tractors.
Yeah, well, Lamborghini started off as a tractor company.
But going back to the car thing, I really want an E46 M3. So I think I'm going to sell the S500. Not that they're comparable, but then it gives me an excuse to then have another car. Like I said, the Porsche is a bit annoying because I love it.
Yeah.
It's actually a terrible family car. It's so uncomfortable. But I love it anyway. And the MPGs.
Oh, mate, don't even get me started.
Disgusting.
On petrol. So I pulled up coming over here today, and I was just like, oh no.
Yes.
But then saying that, I took it to the Cotswold the other day. On long distance, actually when I went to Belgium. So I went from my house to Belgium, drove around Brussels, and then came back on a full tank.
Wow.
Which is pretty good.
So I don't know whether they're naturally aspirated as one light, but I've not seen better than 21 on the long run.
That trip, the best I got, I think, was about 23.
Yeah. So
I remember driving around Brussels and it went down to like 7 or 8 miles per gallon. I think I used, I can't remember, it was like some crazy stats. So driving around, like heading into like Brussels, driving around there, I used about a quarter tank. And it was the same amount as driving from my house to Brussels in the first. And it's just like, it's like you go to central London. It's like, you think, like, obviously where I live heading, it's not that far, but so you get stuck in traffic, you naturally want to put your foot down. And so I'm kind of a bit more in the countryside. So as soon as I could be really sensible up until like the M40, and then you get to the countryside, I was like, everything goes out the window. It's like, you make up for it. But it's miles per gallon.
No, 100%. 100%. I love it. But 6. So look, bro, like, thank you for chatting.
Mate, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a long time coming. We've been planning it for so long. And you know what? I really wanted to make sure we got this down because I think obviously you've written your book. You've had loads of experiences. You've done loads of road trips. You've done rallies. You've done gumball. You've done all that stuff. So for me, I think it was really interesting. And I hope people find this. But I found it super interesting to know. Like
there's a lot to come. There's a lot because obviously just with the whole planning and preparation, there's things I would love to talk about, but things are changing so much.
Exactly.
One thing which I will say is, on the social media, obviously I'm quite big on Instagram, so I'll put as much content out. Instagram, TikTok.
This is what I was going to say. So YouTube. So Roadtrip Connoisseur. That's where we want to.
So I think this is what I've got 2 accounts. I think my personal Gurps Kandola, that one's going to be kind of like. I still like taking nice pictures. I think before that, but I think behind the scenes will be in the Roadtrip Connoisseur page. On this
interesting, the more like road trip focused stuff is going to be on Roadtrip Connoisseur.
Correct.
So people need to lock into that.
Obviously, there's a YouTube channel which I've got, so I'm going to start getting more into vlogging. It's not something I've never really done much of it. But I think going for this, I think. The idea is obviously the first book was something I just did during COVID. It was
where's the book?
So it's available on Amazon. I'll send you the link.
Send me the link.
So, and that it just talks about all the stories that I've got to the stage that I'm at now. And then obviously YouTube. So I think what I plan to do on this trip is basically vlog and document the whole kind of journey. Because I think the idea is because I think a lot of people like get scared because they think, I don't know, like France, Italy. Like, I don't care. Like for me, I could literally do that a day. I think it's no big deal. But I think it's like I remember when I went to I was in Albania last year as well. A lot of people said, it's dangerous. I was like, sick, And I think a lot of people are kind of scared. And I think what I'm going to do through this is kind of vlog it through. It was pure like raw, nothing anything like that. And it's just everything as it is. It's going
to open people's eyes to know what the real feel.
Can literally get into a car, and if you're determined and motivated enough, you can go out and do it. And I was like, you can reach out to me. Like, I've had so many people reach out to me already about, trips I've done in the past. Good. So I think, kind of document, and obviously I'll be writing a book. So kind of, the whole journey. I think anyone makes it on road trips and like that. And I remember like a couple of years ago when I had my silver A8. So me and a couple of mates went to Champagne for a weekend.
Nice.
And we're like, no road trips, nothing like that. I got 2 blowouts, ended up leaving the car there for 2 weeks. And it ended up becoming a story. And I think that's where the Roadtrip Connoisseur came, because we're literally in France, couldn't get tyres, came back with my mate, so he had a Supra, and it was just like, I can't get 4. So in France, you've got to change the whole set if you have more than one flat. Come back over here because we couldn't get tyres anywhere in France. None of the dealerships had it for some reason. Went back to Champagne, got the tyres put on the car, and I think that's kind of where the Roadtrip Connoisseur came. And my friend was like, I don't know what it is, but whenever like we do a road, like nothing ever goes to plan. You have no idea when you're going to get back home. So you'll say, I'm going to get back home on a Sunday. You'll get end up come back on a Wednesday. You just never know. And things just always happen. I was like, what the adventure? And I was like, if you want to do a road trip,
and you know what? This is exactly. It's going to be banging. Like, obviously, it's a long. We'll still speak before, but it's a long. It's something that's going to be a long process.
It is.
So we'll see the step by step, and then once you're there, obviously, it'll be crazy to follow up. And see what you do.
Yeah.
I think also, seeing between now and when you go, all the road trips that you will end up doing, like you say, these day trips and stuff. So it's always good to.
I've got a couple of day trips planned at the moment. Obviously, work and stuff's going to be busy, so. Obviously Morocco's gonna be like the first big kind of the trip, pushing the car. Hopefully, Ice Maritz and Fat Ice International. Hopefully, I'm looking to possibly do South America. Obviously, I want to take the car out to the US. So obviously, I went to uni in New York. I want to kind of start it off in New York and be in Times Square, because I was like, for me, the biggest flex is
down.
No, I'm going to go around. So I'm going to start off in New York, because you've got to ship the car to Newark in New Jersey. So I was like, I want to like kind of do a little flag drop. Obviously, got mates and stuff. I went to uni, so and I know friends from the car community over there. So I was like, just look in an English plated Porsche Cayenne in Times Square in the middle of summertime. And then literally just head out. I'm not planning the route yet, but I think there's places that I want to kind of stop off. It's going to be a very kind of car orientated kind of,
because the US
trip.
is like,
and also there's a massive Porsche, community, so maybe arrange for a few meets. The second trip, which is going to be like the biggest trip, that will start off in London, Africa, Asia, Europe. Obviously, depending on what happens with everything in Russia, there is a border that's open between Russia and Norway, but it's literally Nordkamp at the top. So it'd be nice to. Funny enough, that's where I took when I launched my book. Was actually in Nordkamp when I was there on a rally a couple of years ago, whenever it was. So, but to take your own, I never thought I'd go back, but now things are kind of all pointed that I end up in that direction. I think when I'm in the Schengen zone, then I was like, well, I don't care. Like for me, it doesn't count. Literally got to stop off. Last stop will be, I say it like it's down the road, Porsche Museum, and then come back home, and then.
You need that shot at the end outside.
Just need to get that shot. And then Australia, kind of speak. Taking the car out to Australia is a lot of hard work, so I'm not too sure what I'm going to do with that. And then obviously, the dream would be to finish off Antarctica, which will fit in with my 40th birthday.
Oh, perfect.
So and then start planning. I'm watching a documentary at the moment, and Ewan McGregor, so the actor. So I'm watching his document, and I've learned so much on his bikes. So and they're doing like they've done various different trips. I really want to see it. I explore Africa a lot more after watching his stuff. So I don't know, who knows? And then so that's it. But I have the bug now, so
we wish you all the best.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much,
bro. In a bit,
Mr. Roadtrip Connoisseur.
To keep an eye on the battery, and Jesus, it's so hot. It absolutely
That's
so
why
hot.
we're in t-shirt and shorts today.
Exactly.
Couldn't
No, chinos and a shirt was probably not one. So welcome back to Driver Show.